My name is Maya Evans. I'm 17 years old. And on January 15th, 2025, I died for 8 minutes after I collapsed from what doctors later called an undiagnosed heart condition while I was studying in my room. I was a senior at Northwood High in Austin, Texas. I lived with my dad, who worked long hours to provide for us after my mom passed away when I was 13. I wasn't a social butterfly, but I had a couple of very close friends. I poured all my energy into my studies because I was determined to get into a good university and make my dad proud. I believed in God, went to church on holidays, but if I'm being honest, I was far more concerned with my GPA than my relationship with him. I was just a typical teenager trying to map out my future. The next thing I knew, I was floating near the ceiling, looking down at my own body. My dad was frantically trying to wake me up, his voice filled with a terror I'd never heard before. He was on the phone with 911, his words choked with sobs. I desperately wanted to comfort him, to tell him I was fine, but my voice was gone. I was present, but not really there. I watched him attempt chest compressions, his movements clumsy and panicked from what he'd seen in movies. It wasn't working. My heart ached for him. He looked so utterly terrified and alone. Then, the scene around me began to dissolve, as if the lights were slowly dimming on a play. But I wasn't afraid. An incredible sense of peace washed over me, the kind of absolute comfort you feel as a child when your dad wraps you in a big towel after a swim. When the fatting stopped, I was standing in a place unlike anything on earth. The ground beneath my feet felt like soft moss, but glowed with a gentle, internal white light. There were no buildings, no trees, just an endless, beautiful expanse that felt completely safe and perfect. That's when I felt his presence. Before I even saw him, the very air seemed to shift. It was like that feeling when you walk into a room and just know someone else is there. But this was 1,000,000 times more powerful. It was love, but a kind of love I had never known. It was a love so immense, so pure, it made me want to weep and laugh and collapse all at once. Then he spoke, and I still lack the words to describe his voice. It wasn't loud, yet it filled everything. It didn't just enter my ears. It resonated in my bones, in my soul, in parts of me I never knew existed. Maya. I turned, and there he was, Jesus. But he didn't look like the statues in church or the paintings I'd seen. He was young, perhaps in his 20s, with kind, dark hair and eyes that sparkled with so much life. They seemed to hold the universe within them. His skin had a radiant quality, as if lit from within. When he smiled at me, I felt as if I was the most important person in all of creation. "Am I dead?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. He stepped closer, and I could see his eyes were the color of the deep ocean, yet they held constellations of stars. "You are here with me now," he said, "and there are things I must show you." He reached out his hand, and as I took it, a jolt of pure warmth surged through me. It was every happy memory I'd ever had. Christmas mornings, my dad's proud hugs, laughing with my friends, the thrill of acing a difficult exam, all amplified and happening at once. Instantly, we were somewhere else. We stood on what seemed to be a high mountain, with the entire world spread out below us like a living, breathing map. I could see the continents, the oceans, the glowing lights of cities. "The time is coming," Jesus said, his tone growing more serious, "when I will allow darkness to fall upon the earth for 3 days. But before that, I will give my children 3 signs to help them prepare." As he spoke, the world below us began to shift and move, as if I were watching a film. "The first sign," he said, "will be a sound." Suddenly, I heard it. It was the most beautiful and powerful sound I had ever imagined. It was like music, but more profound than any melody. It was as if the earth itself were singing a heavenly song. It seemed to emanate from everywhere at once, the sky, the ground, the very air around us. "This sound will be heard by every living person on earth," Jesus explained. "It will last for exactly 7 minutes. When my people hear it, something will awaken in their hearts. They will feel an undeniable urgency to prepare. not just their homes, but their souls. I watched as people across the globe stopped in their tracks. Some dropped to their knees on city streets. Others looked to the heavens in awe. But I also saw that many were terrified, covering their ears, trying to run from the sound instead of listening to its message. What are they supposed to prepare for? I asked. Jesus looked at me with immense tenderness. They need to forgive, Maya. The sound will make old grudges feel like open wounds. Broken relationships will ache with a fresh pain. This is my spirit calling them to make peace before the darkness arrives. I saw visions of families having long overdue conversations. I saw people making phone calls, writing letters, and knocking on doors they had sworn never to approach again. But I also saw others who hardened their hearts, who clung to their anger and bitterness even as the divine call echoed around them. The second sign, Jesus continued, will be the lights. The scene shifted. I was now looking at the night sky, but it was unlike any sky I had ever seen. Colors I couldn't name danced across the darkness. Deep violets, radiant golds, and shimmering silver whites, moving like majestic curtains in a celestial wind. These lights will appear for 3 nights in a row, Jesus said. They will be visible from every corner of the earth. When my people see them, they will know the time is very, very near. They will gather in their homes and spend these 3 nights in prayer and final preparation. I watched as people came out of their houses, gazing at the sky. Children pointed with glee. Some adults were frightened, but others, the ones who had heeded the sound, were calm and purposeful. They were filling containers with water, gathering candles, and calling their loved ones to come home. And the third sign, I asked, a part of me hesitant to know. Jesus turned to look directly at me, and I saw a deep sadness in his eyes, yet it was mingled with hope. The third sign will be the silence. Everything around us went utterly still. It wasn't just quiet, it was a supernatural silence, as if the very atoms of the air had ceased to move. For 1 full hour, he said, every machine made by human hands will stop. Cars will not start. Phones will go dead. The electrical grid will pause. Only the sounds of my creation, the wind, the water, the birds will remain. I saw it happen. Great cities fell silent. People emerged from buildings, confused and alarmed. Traffic lights went out. All screens went black. But in that profound silence, something beautiful occurred. People began to talk to each other, really talk. Neighbors who had been strangers for years started conversations on the sidewalk. Families gathered together, completely free from digital distractions. When the silence ends, Jesus said, my people will have exactly 24 hours before the 3 days of darkness begin. Why darkness? I asked, my voice small. Jesus knelt to look me in the eye. Because the world has forgotten how to be still with me. They fill every moment with noise, with screens, with distractions. They worship their devices more than they worship their Creator. For 3 days, I will remove everything that pulls their attention away from what truly matters. He showed me what it would be like. A darkness so complete that candles and fireplaces would be the only light. No electricity, no internet, no television, no phones. Just families huddled together, talking, praying, and remembering how to be truly human with one another. Those who have prepared their hearts will not be afraid, Jesus said. They will use this time to draw close to me and to each other. They will find that they don't need all the things they thought were essential for happiness. But I also saw the others. The people who hadn't prepared, who had ignored every sign. They were in a state of panic. Some were looting stores. Others were fighting over the few resources they had. The darkness that was meant to bring my people peace had become a prison of their own making, because they did not know how to be still. Lord, I said, and tears began to stream down my face. Why are you showing me this? I'm just a teenager. No one is going to believe me. Jesus reached out and gently wiped away my tears. Maya, do you think I chose you by accident? You have something many adults have lost. You still believe in things you cannot see. Your heart is still soft enough to hear my voice. Then he showed me something that shattered my heart. I saw my dad, sitting by my hospital bed, holding my limp hand. The machines around me were beeping frantically, the numbers on the screens flashing red. A doctor was speaking to him in a low voice, and I could tell from my dad's devastated expression that he was being told to prepare for the worst. "I don't want to go back," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. Being with Jesus felt like I had finally come home to a place I had been missing my entire life without even knowing it. "Please, can't I just stay here with you?" Jesus stood and pulled me into the warmest, most secure hug I had ever felt. "I know you are weary, little one. I know the world is difficult, especially for someone your age. But your Father needs you, and I need you to tell people what you have seen." "But what if they don't believe me? What if they say I'm crazy?" He held me tighter. "Some will believe and some will not. That is not for you to worry about. Your job is only to plant the seed. I will be the one to make it grow." I looked back toward Earth, toward my dad weeping over my body. "Will I see you again?" "Every time you pray, I am there," he said. "Every time you choose kindness over anger, every time you forgive someone instead of holding a grudge, every time you help someone who is hurting, I am right there with you. And when your true time comes, many years from now, I will be here waiting for you." He kissed the top of my head, and I felt a wave of such overwhelming love that I thought I might simply dissolve into it. "Now go," he whispered. "Tell them what you have seen, help them prepare their hearts. And Maya, do not be afraid. I am in control of everything that is to come." The next thing I knew, I was being pulled backward, away from him. I fought against it with all my strength. I didn't want to leave that love, that peace, that feeling of perfect belonging. But then I heard my dad's voice, faint at first, then growing clearer. "Please, my sweet girl, please come back to me. I can't do this without you." I took a sharp, painful gasp of air. The fluorescent lights of the hospital were blinding. Machines were beeping and humming all around me. A doctor was leaning over me, his face a mask of utter shock. "That's impossible," he whispered to a nurse. "She was flatlined for 40 minutes. There should be severe brain damage. This just doesn't make any sense." My dad grabbed my hand, his whole body shaking with relieved sobs. "Oh, Maya, oh, my baby girl, I thought I had lost you forever." I tried to speak, but my throat was painfully dry. Finally, I managed to whisper, "Dad, I saw him. I saw Jesus." He just held my hand and wept. The doctors kept me in the hospital for a week, running every test imaginable. They had no medical explanation for what happened. My heart was completely healthy. My brain scans were perfectly normal. They kept calling it a 1 in a billion miracle, but I knew what it really was. It was Jesus giving me a second chance and a mission. When I finally told my dad everything I had seen, he listened with a quiet, intense focus. When I finished, he was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Honey, I've been feeling something strange lately. A feeling like I need to get ready for something important, but I didn't know what. Now I think I do." That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've been sharing my story with anyone who is willing to listen. Some kids at school avoid me now, thinking I'm weird. Some adults get defensive, as if I'm trying to frighten them. But others listen with tears in their eyes because they feel it too. They feel that something is coming. I've changed so much. The things that used to consume me, grades, college applications, social status, they just don't seem as important anymore. I spend more time with my dad. I make an effort to be kind to the lonely kids at school. I pray every day, not out of obligation, but because I long to speak with Jesus again. I keep thinking about those 3 signs. The sound that will last 7 minutes, the lights in the sky for 3 nights, and the silence for 1 hour. I don't know when they will happen, but I know with all my heart that they will. And when they do, I want to be ready. I want everyone to be ready. If you're listening to this, please don't dismiss me as just some crazy teenager who made up a story. I know how it must sound. But I also know what I experienced. I held the hand of Jesus. I felt his love. I saw what is coming. The 3 days of darkness are not meant to punish us. They are meant to save us, to help us remember what truly matters, to bring us back to God when we have become so lost in everything else. You can start preparing now. And I don't just mean by stockpiling food and candles, though that is wise. I mean preparing your heart. Forgive the people who have hurt you, even if you feel they don't deserve it. Tell your family that you love them, even if it feels awkward. Talk to God, even if you're not sure how. Open a Bible, even if you never have before. And when you hear that sound, that beautiful, powerful, heavenly sound, do not be afraid. It is not the end of the world. It is Jesus calling his children to come home to him. I died for 8 minutes and I came back to tell you this. Heaven is real. Jesus is real. And he loves you more than you can possibly comprehend. He loves you enough to warn you about what's coming so that you can be ready. The question isn't whether or not you believe me. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because when that sound comes, when those lights appear in the sky, when that great silence falls, it will be too late to prepare your heart. But it's not too late now. Right now, in this very moment, you can choose to listen. You can choose to prepare. You can choose to come home to the one who has been waiting for you your entire life. Don't wait, please don't wait. Because I've seen what's coming, and I've seen his incredible love, and I want everyone to be ready.